thank you so much for being here wherever in the world you are watching from. Hi, I'm Teresa from Tree60 Handmade Bags, and welcome to my sewing studio. Today's bag tutorial is a bag that I designed myself. My best friend Cheryl from high school asked me to make her a bag, and she had a lot of things that she wanted in the bag, and I couldn't find a pattern online, so I decided I might as well use my 50 plus years of sewing experience and 3 years of bag making experience and come up with a bag that's custom made and designed specifically for Cheryl, but it will work for everybody and anybody. Great. It'll be great to make for craft markets or gifts. Traveling will be perfect. It'll be a perfect size for traveling. So, introducing my very first published pattern and bag design is the CherAnn Bestie Crossbody Bag, named in honor of my best friend CherAnn from high school. Here is the CherAnn. I hope you love this bag as much as I do. There it is. How beautiful is that? And it's just a perfect size bag for everyday use, for travel, to make and sell at craft markets. So the features of this bag, first of all, I made with Mora faux leather from EMMALINE bags. This is the beige, and the lining inside is this beautiful waterproof nylon from Sam Fabric Creation. So here are the features. We have an adjustable crossbody strap. This is a 3/4 inch wide crossbody strap. We have a zipper pocket on the front that is fully lined, and it's large enough. I have a large Samsung, and it's large enough to put my Samsung in here and get the zipper done up. Tons of space, lots of room at the front pocket, and all lined. On the back, we have this magnetic snap back slip pocket that is big enough probably to put a Kindle and a Kobo or a small tablet. Now inside, on the back wall, I have another zipper pocket, which is the same size as this one, so it would fit your phone as well. So there's another zipper pocket on the inside. And then on the front wall, so that when you open the bag and the front is there, you have 8 card slots. Look at that. And they all fit in horizontally. So there are the 8 card slots. And then behind the card slots, there is a large, generous slip pocket for cash or a checkbook or anything else that you may want. And then inside the bag, tons and tons of space. Try and get the light so you can put a lot of things in there, a water bottle or anything that you need in there. You don't need to carry a wallet. So this is my very first published pattern and the tutorial for the CherAnn Bestie Bag. And I hope that you enjoy making it too. And before I forget, infomercial, please like, comment, thumbs up, share, subscribe. On the bottom right corner of your screen is a red subscribe button, and just click that. And then when you see the bell notification, just click that and make sure that it's set to see all posts. And then that way it goes a long way to help me in continuing to create content and sewing tutorials on YouTube for you. So figure out what fabrics you're going to use, get the pattern. It is in the description box below on my website, www.tree60handmadebags.com. The link is there, and when you send in, when you click and order the pattern, then I will email you directly from myself. It won't come from an automatic generated email from my website. I'll get the order, and then I'll email you the pattern, the PDF pattern, digital. It's a digital pattern, as well as I'll send links to tutorials and that, so that you'll have those for your arsenal as well and your stock. So Thank you so much for being here. Please enjoy this tutorial of my very first published pattern, the CherAnn Bestie Crossbody Bag. All right, so here's what you're going to require for the CherAnn Bestie Crossbody Bag. The hardware, if you have a bag tag, then you'll need your bag tag. I am using number 5 zipper, so you can decide whether you want to use a number 5 zipper or number 3 zipper. So you'll have 3 zippers. So one will be long and then the 2 will be short, the same measurement. So therefore you're going to need 3 zipper pulls, depending if you use number 3 or number 5 zipper. You're going to need 2 3/4 inch D-rings, or if you want to make a 1 inch, that's up to you as well. And I'm using 3/4 inch and 2 3/4 inch swivel clasps and 1 3/4 inch tri-glide for the strap. And then what you'll also, for the fabric, you will need 2 exterior zipper tabs. You can cut one main piece, like it gives you the measurement for 1 and you cut 2, or you can just cut 1 long strip and cut it in half. You need 1 D-ring connector piece that will fold into the center, top stitch down each folded edge, and then fold in half and cut in half. You're going to need 2 main exterior front and backs and 2 main exterior front and back linings. You're going to need 1 exterior back slip pocket and 1 lining exterior back slip pocket. Oh, also you'll need a magnetic snap as well. So for your card slots, you need 1 panel that's 1 panel that's in lining. The card slot back, 1 lining. Then your interior zipper pocket and your exterior front zipper pocket, it's all with lining, and it's the same measurement for the two pattern pieces. So you just need to cut actually 4 of them, 4 linings total, but I've separated them just for instructional purposes. And then of course you'll need double-sided tape. You'll need, your regular tools. The thread that I'm using is the Almond Strong Bond nylon bonded thread, 70 tex weight in dark brown. It's already loaded up into my machine. And let's get started making the CherAnn Bestie Crossbody Bag by Tree60 Handmade Bags. All right, so what we're going to start with first is we are going to start making the D-ring connector. So you have 1 strip that we're going to be constructing, and then we're going to cut it in half when it's done. So what you do, and the measurement for this D-ring connector is in the pattern, and this will make a finished 3/4 inch wide D-ring connector. So you mark a center line from one short end to the other short end down the center, and then I have 1/8 inch strip double-sided tape down each side. Now you remove the double-sided tape, backing, if I can get it off. Okay, so we have removed the double-sided tape, and we are going to fold each long edge into, I'm going to put this down so you can see it. So we're going to fold each long edge into the center. And repeat for the other side. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to top stitch down each folded edge. And this will give us a finished 3/4 of an inch seam allowance or D-ring connector. And then up the other side. Okay, so there it is top stitched, and that's the wrong side. And there it is top stitched. All right, now we're going to just fold this in half. And then we're just going to cut it in half along the folded line. And get your D-rings. Feed your D-rings onto the right side. So the curve will go at the top and the wrong side of the D-ring, the flat side, will be underneath. That goes onto the wrong side. And feed your D-ring on and clip at each end. Do this for both. Clips are sticking together. Okay, so you have them just like this. And now we're just going to baste across 1/8 of an inch seam allowance just across the body of each one, or just across the bottom of each one. Can't talk today. And there are our finished D-ring connectors. Okay, and we will just put these aside for now. Now we're going to work on the front exterior zipper. So you're going to need your one short zipper, your one zipper pull, your exterior zipper tabs, and you have 2 of them, and you do need your bag logo tag, but not right at the moment. So right now we're just going to construct the zipper. So first of all, put the zipper onto the zipper tape. One of your zipper teeth will sit higher than the other one. So let me see if you can see it. Okay, you can see it better on this side. It is frayed, but you can see that one of the zipper teeth does sit higher than the other one. That's the side, whatever side the higher zipper tooth is on, is the side you're going to feed the zipper pull onto first. So just pull the zipper apart a bit. Take your zipper, so it was on this side, take your zipper pull, feed it onto that side with the higher zipper, then feed the other side on, and you're going to see that the zipper is sitting kind of wonky. Just like that. So let me trim these threadies off. And you'll see that it's sitting pretty wonky here as well. We want this zipper pull, it's better to see it from the back. We want this zipper pull to be sitting straight. When putting your zipper pull on, I always make sure I have my finger sitting on this edge because it will pop off. So because this corner is sitting lower, what we need to do is we need to kind of pop it up tooth by tooth. And I take it and I line up the teeth here on the zipper tape to the zipper pull, and it's still sitting wonky. So I need to keep my finger on the edge and then move it up another tooth. And at this point, it should be sitting straight. Push it on and you probably will hear a click. And there we have the zipper pull on. All right, so now what we're going to do is we have to lightly burn each end of the zipper because we don't want it fraying, like this one frays a lot. This zipper tape I think I got from Temu. And then we're going to take double-sided tape. I just use 1/8, and we're just going to put double-sided tape across each short end. Making sure it's straight because I know my edges, my ends of my zipper are not straight. Okay, so we take one of our zipper tabs, and this is the right side or the pretty side. The wrong side is the ugly side. Okay, so the right side, pretty side will go together, right side together with the zipper tape, teeth up. So when you have your teeth showing, that's the right side of your zipper. When you have the back side of the zipper showing, that's the wrong side. So take your exterior zipper tab, line it up along the double-sided tape, and it's easy to see if it's from the back side, the wrong side, whether your zipper tab is straight, and mine isn't. So make sure that your zipper tab is straight on your zipper. Make sure your zipper is straight on your zipper tab. Just centered. It will be bigger. I always cut mine way bigger. This is going to be much longer than needed as well. And then take the backing off the other side and then repeat. Right side, pretty side of the exterior zipper tab to right side, teeth up of the zipper, and center that on. Making sure from the back side it is centered and that your edges are parallel with the edges of your zipper tape. And we're going to stitch across here at 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. Just like that. Now what we are going to do is we're going to take the zipper tab and we're going to fold it up so the right side is showing. Make sure you have a straight line across here. Clip in place and do that for both sides. And what I do is I just fold it and then I kind of clip the seam underneath so that it stays in place. And repeat for the other side. Butterfingers today. Oh, Murphy heard something drop. He's probably going to come and find it. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch 1/8 inch seam allowance across each of these folds. making sure that my zipper tab stays straight. I've had them come out crooked, and that's not a good thing. Because it can get crooked as you go over the zipper teeth. You get pulled out of whack. Okay, so there we have our zipper tabs sewn on, both edges top stitched. All right, now if you do have excess here on the side, you can trim that. It's not a lot here, but I'll trim it anyways just for instructional purposes. Making sure that when you trim it straight. Follow the line of your zipper, like your edges are straight here. We're not worrying about this end. It's eventually going to get trimmed off. Okay, so I've just trimmed that excess off here, and there we have our finished front exterior zipper. All right, so we're going to take one main front and back exterior piece, and from the short edge, the top edge, bottom, left and right side, from the top edge, we're going to, there's a measurement in the pattern to measure down from the top edge. On my fabric, it doesn't matter because it's not directional, and it's, you know, there's nothing, I don't have to worry about which edge is my top edge and which edge is my bottom edge. Same with my lining, it's not directional. So there's a measurement in the pattern that you cut a certain amount off the top edge. Okay, so there we have it cut. Now, if it was directional, I think I need to change my rotary blade. If you had directional fabric, you'll want to make sure that these two pieces stay together so that when the zipper is put in the middle, in between the two, your fabric is going the right way. So on the piece that we just cut, I'm just going to fold it in half, and on the bottom edge of that piece, I'm just going to cut a center mark right there. And then on the top and the bottom of the piece that's left over, I'm going to cut a center mark. Okay, so that is my top and my bottom. Now, to mark the center of the zipper, we're going to fold the zipper in half, and we're going to make sure that we line up the folded edge on both sides together. Make sure your zipper pulls out of the way. And then I'm going to mark the front and the back, both ends of the zipper tape, and the front and the back, so that I do have a mark on both sides so I can see. That's just what I do. And I just make a mark. I used to snip notches out of my zipper tape, but there's a good chance that the zipper tape will fray. So just out of the seam allowance, I'm just marking a little mark. This is on the front side, the center, and then on the fold on the other side, I'll just make a mark in case I need a mark on each side. Okay, so there we've marked the center of our zipper. Now, you need to determine when you're looking at the front of your bag, So when you're looking at the front of your bag, you need to determine which side you want your zipper to close on. So if you want it closing to the right, or if you want it closing to the left. So that's important. Before that, we're going to put, just decide which way you want your zipper to pull. I like wearing my bag on my right hip. So I like having the zipper pull right there. So I'm going to make it so my bag, or this bag, so that the zipper pull closes to the left, or closes to the right, so that when I'm wearing the bag, the zipper pull will be right there. So I have it oriented that way. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to put double-sided tape along this top edge of the bottom piece. And that's on the right side. You put the double-sided tape. All right, take the backing off the double-sided tape. Now, with the pretty side, the right side up of your bottom, and you have already have your zipper oriented in the way you want it. So mine's going to be pulling to the right, and this is the right side up. Take your zipper tape and flip it so that it's wrong side up, wrong side up. And then you're going to line up the center mark with the center mark of your exterior. And line up all your raw edges. Just like that. Then we're going to put another strip of double-sided tape on the wrong side of the zipper. I'm not going to go all the way across because this is where we're going to start attaching our lining. So I'm just going to go past the stitching on the zipper. Then we're going to take an exterior front pocket lining. Mark your centers on the top edge. With my case, it doesn't matter which edge is the top edge or the right side. Okay, so take the double-sided tape backing off the wrong side of your zipper, and then you're going to line up the right side of your lining piece, interior zipper pocket lining piece. You're going to line up your center with the center mark on your zipper, and you're going to line up all of your raw edges at the top here. So that's why I only put the double-sided tape to the edges of the zipper, because it's only a certain width that's shorter. And then we're going to stitch across the top of this at the seam allowance in the pattern. And then we're going to flip it over, and then we're going to top stitch at an 1/8 of an, or top stitch at an 1/8 of an inch. So right now we're just going to sew across this edge only I'm going to start, because we still have to attach these zipper tabs. So I'm going to start right at the edge where the zipper tab is and go all the way to the end, 1/4 of an inch. When you get to your zipper pull underneath all of your fabric, make sure your needle is down, lift your presser foot, find where your zipper pull is, and then just move it out of the way and then carry on. All right, so there it is on the wrong side of the lining and the wrong side of the exterior. Okay, now we're just going to flip everything over. I'm just going to close that zipper to make it easier. And clip where the fold is, because this is where we're going to top stitch. I just like to clip the edges so that the fabric stays down and doesn't get crooked. Just fold your lining down and figure press. If you'd like to, if you have fabric that you can iron, then do that. I just don't have the fabric that can be ironed. And then I'm just going to top stitch all across here. Making sure that when you're top stitching, your lining is pulled down so it's not bunched up underneath and in the way of your stitch line, and that your exterior is pulled, not like pulled super tight, but just pulled enough that it's not going to get caught or puckered and bunched underneath. If you need to, move your zipper pull needle down, presser foot up, move the zipper pull out of the way, and then continue, carry on. Okay, so there we have the top stitching done across the bottom edge of our zipper. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the top. So now we put double-sided tape across the top edge of the zipper and the zipper tabs. And you have the right side of your panel up. And take the backing off. Now with the right side, here's the top edge. We've already marked our center, and this is important if you have a print on the front. So your top edge is lined up like this, your bottom panel's like that. Flip that right sides together, line up your notch with the mark, the center mark on your zipper, and then just line up your raw edges with the zipper tape edge right across that. Then we're going to flip it over to the wrong side, and then we're going to put double-sided tape from the end of the zipper to the end of the zipper, or basically where the stitch line is on your zipper tape, and put it across the top edge of your zipper. And then we're going to take the remaining piece of the exterior front zipper pocket, mark the center on the top, And then right sides together, we're going to first take the double-sided tape backing off. And then with right sides together of the pocket lining, we're going to line up the centers and the top edge, top raw edges. Okay, just like that. Now you're going to have a bit of an overhang at the bottom. That is okay. Making sure also that your side edges are aligned together. And what we're going to do is now we're just going to stitch across the top edge at a quarter or a seam allowance in the pattern. Move my zipper pull out of the way. Find it through all these layers. That's what I found confusing at first, was trying to find the zipper pull. All right, just like that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to flip up, stitch across, okay. And so we have the right side linings are together and they stay going down towards the bottom. We are going to take the small edge, this top portion now, and we're going to stitch across, top stitch across the fold, making sure that on the wrong side your zipper, your seam allowance is going up to the towards the top and it gets caught in your top stitching. All right, I'm just going to move my zipper pull out of the way. Okay, now we have the top and the bottom on, and we have it top stitched, and we have everything all nicely lined up. Now we can just trim off these edges that we don't need anymore. Trim them off in line with the edge of your front panel. And our front panel is done. All right, so we do have this excess bottom. So with wrong sides up, just smooth everything flat and then just trim this off. We don't need that anymore. Okay. Now flip it back over to the right side. And then you're going to take your exterior panel and just fold it up. along the seam, along, and just fold it up here. Put your zipper pull in the center. It's kind of getting in the way. Okay. So you have the right sides of your zipper pocket lining facing each other. Take this exterior front panel and just fold it up so that it exposes the seam right here at this edge. And then what we're going to do is we're going to clip all of the edges together, and then we're going to stitch from this edge into, just following this line, this folded line, not stitching into the line because that will mess up the front of your panel. But right along this edge, stitch from this raw edge of your lining into here along the edge, and the seam to a certain point, seam allowances in the pattern, stitch all the way down across the bottom, and then when you come back up this edge, then you're going to stop just here and then stitch out to the edge here. So we're just going to clip everything together. This way, and that'll fold that down smoother. And then just clip the bottom so that it's looking like this. Now I'm going to stitch into here, go stitch all around, down the bottom and up the side and back out again. Just along that folded edge. Back stitching before and after at the start of each, at the edge, and I'm going to pivot and then sew down each edge and the bottom. And I'm going to come up the other side. And then when I get to that point, I will stop and pivot and sew out to the raw edge. Making sure that I back stitch well at that edge. Okay, so there it is, across, down, across the bottom, up the other side, and coming out that side. So this is what it looks like on the wrong side, or on the inside. Now you do have this little extra of open raw edge. You can take fray check. I'll just take fray check. You're not going to see any of this. And it won't affect your zipper pocket, but I can take fray check, or you can use Fabri-Tac just to run some glue down here, or Aline's fabric glue just to run glue just to seal it, if that's if you have that type of fabric. But I have waterproof nylon, so I'm just going to run some fray check along here just to help seal it. And my zipper is measured perfectly so it doesn't get in the way. If your zipper tab does stick out, if like your actual zipper tape does stick out, then you can trim it off and then take the lighter to it again, just so that it doesn't fray. And then we trim off the corners of our pocket. Not that you really don't need to, because it's not in the way. It's just a habit, I guess. All right, there we have our front zipper panel pocket and front panel done. And there is our gorgeous lining inside. And a nice size zipper pocket, and this will fit a large cell phone. And there is the back side. Okay, so this portion of the video is of the tutorial is being filmed after I completed the bag and realized I didn't put my bag tag on. So what I did was I went back in to the lining and unstitched the turning hole, and now I can reach in and get access to the exterior of the bag, making sure that I pull up the interior zipper pocket that's not, so that I don't wind up cutting that. So I've already measured where I want my bag tag, and I've already marked the cut marks for the prongs. I'm going to take a piece of duct tape and put it inside, go inside the bag, and put it up along on the exterior, the wrong side of the exterior, under where those prongs will be, so that it helps to protect and stabilize the fabric and the bag tag. All right, so I'm just going to cut the slit marks. There's always a way to do things, so I'm just going to cut the slit marks now. And I'm going to be using my Rainbow Tree60. Pop the prongs through. Make sure that when it's pushed through that it is sitting level and straight. It would have been better to do it the right spot. So this is being put on when you finish your exterior front panel. Before you sew everything together, this is when you would install your bag tag. And I'm just going to reach in and put the washer over top of those prongs. Hope I get them lined up. As long as they go into a hole. I guess I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, and I push my prongs to the inside, and I want to make sure now that it's lined up. Oh, not too bad. Okay, then I take the other piece of duct tape and I will go to the inside as well and put that over top of the washer and the prongs to protect everything and to hold it into place as well. Too funny. Okay, 2 pieces of duct tape. Okay, we got my bag tag on. Yay! All right, now we're going to clip the lining back together, and we're going to stitch it back up. Now we have our bag tag on. So before you go and sew everything up together like I did, make sure that when you've made your front panel, your front zipper panel, if you have a bag tag and this is where you want it, then you put it on there before you start working on the lining pieces and stuff like that. All right, we'll see you on the other side. Okay, so we need one main exterior back, we need the one exterior back slip pocket and the lining. And we will need the magnetic snap and washer. So we're going to be installing the male portion of the magnetic snap first. And if you're new to bag making, this is the male. I think you can kind of guess why it's the male. And this is the female with a little concave thing. And the male has the little nub on it. Okay. All right, so what we're going to work with first is we're going to be working with the, we're going to be making the slip pocket. Okay, so you don't really have to mark your centers on this. It's just, you just take right sides together of the exterior and the lining, clip them. Just clip them together, and then we're going to sew them. Just make sure that your edges are even. Now for this, there is a main seam allowance to sew the whole bag, but in this particular step, there is a different seam allowance to sew this at the top, and that's what I'm going to be doing right now. Okay, so there it's sewn together. We are going to flip it, flip and clip along the folded edge, sewn edge. You can press it if you have the type of fabric that you can press, but I don't. So I'm just going to just fold along the sewn edge and clip it. Okay. And then we're going to top stitch all across the top edge. Okay, and we have it top stitched, and there's the right side of the lining. Now, because my lining, the male portion is going to be stick on this side of the lining. So because my lining, although I didn't interface it, I am going to reinforce it with duct tape. Okay, So first of all, when we install the magnetic snap, it's just going to be sitting, now I'm showing on the right side because it's easier to see, it's just going to be sitting right underneath that top stitching. So it'll be sitting right underneath the top stitching of that, of the lining. So I want to fold this in half and find the center of my lining, make a crease, and I'll use my gel marker, my white gel marker. It does wipe off. No one's going to see this though. All right, and I just want to measure it just to make sure it's even on both sides. Okay. And how I figure out where I'm going to put the duct tape on the underside, because clearly I can't see, I take my stylus and I'm going to, so I made a mark in the center where the fold was, kind of where I think that the washer is going to be. So I can actually make that mark a little lower because I want it just below the top stitching. Okay. So I've just kind of made a bigger mark right there. So what I do is I take my stylus and I poke it through the center of that mark to the other side. Then I take my piece of duct tape, because I want the duct tape only to go as far up as the stitch line. I don't want it getting caught on top of the seam allowance, because then that gets folded down and it just gets all bulky. So this is probably overkill for the size of piece of duct tape. And if I have to trim it, I'll trim it. So I just kind of poke it into the, you know, where I think I'm going to wind up. And then what that does is it also helps to create a hole on this side. So I'm just going to put the duct tape down. If I have to trim the top of it, then I will. It's okay. I'll just trim that top edge off out of the seam allowance here, because it will get in the way. It's not straight, but that's okay. Okay, so that will help to secure and stabilize that fabric, so that when there's a lot of pulling from the magnetic snap, it's not going to, it'll be a little more stable. I am going to take fray check, because even though this is waterproof nylon or waterproof canvas, I'm just still going to put a little drop of fray check there to help prevent any kind of tearing or any kind of fraying. Okay, so then what I do is then I'll take the washer, oh, there it is, and then I'll line the washer up onto the hole here, and then I'll make my slit marks. So there's my slit marks there, and I will put fray check when I do cut those. So I'll just take my seam ripper, my jack the seam ripper, and then I'll just cut those slit marks. Make sure you don't prick yourself or poke yourself on the under edge like I just did. Yikes, that hurt. Okay, fray check. Should have waited to do all of this. Just fray check on the slit marks. And then we're just going to take the male portion of the magnetic snap, pop it through from the right side to the wrong side, pop the prongs through to the other side, push it all down, push the fabric all down across the, you know, so that it's all pushed down around those prongs. Good grief, can't talk today. Put the washer down on over top of those prongs, and then push your prongs open, splay them open like this. Now they never sit flat. You can see that they're kind of sitting up and not flush with the fabric. So all I do is I just take it, push them against my desk. I don't bang with a hammer or anything like that. I just find it easier to push them down. And then we take the other piece of duct tape and then we put it over top of the prongs and the washer to protect the other fabric that will be rubbing up against here, so that the metal and the metal washer and the prongs don't rub and cause friction. And there we have the male portion of our magnetic snap installed. Take your slip pocket and line it up with the sides and the bottom and clip together. So clip the bottom first. There's no centers to line up. Just make sure that your corners match. Make sure your corners and raw edges match. And your sides match. Okay, so we have the two panel, like the two clipped together, and we just want to make sure that from this top edge to this edge, the folded edge, they're both the same measurement. Okay, so this side has to come up a little bit to make it level, or actually I could just trim this top edge to make sure that it's in alignment. Okay, so after you get your sides and bottom all clipped, just take your ruler, make sure that the measurement is the same from this folded edge to the top. And if it isn't, then you're going to be trimming a little bit off of this top edge, just because I know mine's not even, so I'm just going to measure it. Pretty much see how much it's off. And just straighten this edge. I'm not the world's best cutter. Okay. Let's just measure and see if it's even now. Perfect. Yay, I did it. Woo-hoo. And then what we want to do before we baste these pieces together is we want to just make sure that our front panel and our back panel are going to be the same size. And they are. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to baste these side and bottom together at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Make sure that when you do start stitching, I start from one edge, go and around to the other edge. When you start from the top here and you come to this folded edge, make sure that you hold this folded edge in place so that the presser foot doesn't push it out of alignment. Ask me how I know. Okay, so now we have our back slip pocket and our back exterior main together. All right, so now we're going to be installing the female portion of the slip pocket. And I'm going to put duct tape back there as well. Just to help secure it. Some bag makers, they use Decaville light or heavy, a piece of it in there, or they use fusible foam. I just like using duct tape. I like to have everything at a minimum. I don't like having a lot of different things. So what we're going to do is to find out where to install our female portion is I just pull back the pocket so that the nub of the male side of the magnetic snap is showing. I use my black permanent Sharpie and I make a mark in the center, and then I just lay the fabric down and push it on quickly before the Sharpie dries. And then I have a mark. So that's where I'm going to install my female side portion of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of duct tape. I'm going to take my stylus and I'm going to just fold this back, and I'm going to stick the stylus into the center of this mark so that it comes out the back. Just like that. And then I'm going to stick it through the center of the duct tape and then stick it onto the fabric. So this is where we need to mark our washer slit mark. So I'm just going to line up the hole with the hole on the back of this duct tape that the stylus made, center that, and then draw my slit marks, making sure my slit marks are straight up and down because my duct tape isn't straight. And then use Jack the Seam Ripper to cut the slit marks. And then from the right side of the fabric, then you pop your female portion of the prongs into the fabric, flip it to the wrong side. Now you just heard that snap. That has just connected the two magnetic snaps. Put the washer over top and then splay your prongs open. I'm going to pull them apart so that they're like that, but of course they're not flush. So I just push each side down against the table. There, they connected, and then just cover with my duct tape. And now we have our back panel and slip pocket made. Okay, so now we're going to install the top zipper, which is your long zipper. So you'll need that, and you'll need a zipper pull at some point. First, what we need to do is on the front and back panel, we need to make a mark in from each edge, because this is where our D-ring connectors are going to be installed over, like, along the side seams. So there's a measurement in the pattern. And you're just going to make the mark within the seam allowance on each side. So I'm just going to measure in and just draw a line. This is where our zipper is going to start and end on both sides. So we do that for the top, for the front and the back. I'm going to do it on top of that. You're not going to see these gel marks. They're going to be within the seam allowance. Okay, so there it is on our back side. We have that mark on both sides and on our front as well. Okay, so now we're going to prepare the long zipper, which is the top zipper of the bag. And we're going to prepare that using the Butler method to make curves on each end. So in the pattern, there's a measurement in the pattern to measure from the one raw edge down, and I'm just making a mark with my pencil. So I've just made a mark just like that. And what we do is we pull the zipper apart past that mark, and we take one of the lines, fold on the line, and making sure that these two edges are lined up. And I just fold it and make a crease. And then what you do is you hold this corner, and then this back piece pops up. And then you take that crease and you line it up right under the zipper teeth, just like that. And then you pin it in place. And you do it for the other side as well. So we have it clipped. You can see that the teeth are right on, or the fold is right under the teeth, and then do it for the other side. So fold it, make sure that your edges of the zipper are lined up. Make a good crease in the zipper. Hold the corner, and then this back piece will pop up just like that. Place the fold right under the zipper teeth. And then clip that or pin that in place as well. Now there's two ways to do the Butler method. On one side, you can stitch down the side right along this edge so that the stitching to hold it in place doesn't get seen outside of the seam allowance where this part of the zipper is seen. So you want to have it stitched as close, go down and then back stitch back to the top. And then this side, I'll show you how to do, to trim this off and use a lighter to burn and secure the one side. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch across this one side, or down this one side, and then back stitch. Make sure that you keep an eye on the pins, they don't get caught in your zipper. Now these teeth are a little larger than what I usually use, and they might get caught. Okay, so we have it there. It got moved a bit because these teeth are bigger, but that's okay. It's still going to get stitched in. And then what I'm going to do on this side is I'm going to trim this off, pull my pin out of the way a little bit. Just trim these teeth off along the edge. And then I'm just going to take my lighter, so you have it trimmed. And then I'm just going to take my lighter to this side and melt the fabric on both the front and the back. Don't burn yourself because my fingers are very close. take the pin out, and there we have the melted version and the stitch version. Usually the stitch version looks better than that, but by the time you see the right side, it will be okay. And then we trim off this excess, and then we burn that to stop any fraying. Front and back. I'm just going to burn where that one tooth came out, because this is a different kind of zipper tape. Burn that there. All right, and there is the Butler method of your zipper. All right, so now what we're going to do is now we're going to pull the two pieces of zipper apart. Not a scary thing, there is a reason why. And we're going to work with the front panel first. Now, what we need to do first is to determine which, we've already decided which way our zipper is going to close on our front zipper pocket. So mine is closing to the right. And therefore, with the two edges of your zipper, like this, then you will want your top zipper closing in the same direction as your front zipper pocket. So because mine is closing to the right, I need the curve of the one side of the zipper on this side of the bag when it's right side down. So that will be the one that I've stitched. And when it's right side down, teeth down onto the right side of the front panel, you're going to line up the edge of your zipper teeth with that mark, and we're going to double side tape right across to this other mark, and then we'll stitch it across and leave it there. So I'm just going to put double-sided tape across that top edge between these two lines that we already marked on our exterior. And do the same while you're at it. Do the same for the back panel as well. Put double-sided tape between the two marks, because we're going to be doing the zipper on the front and the back. We're not going to be installing the zipper pull until the very end. Okay, so this is the stitched side, was the one that I want the curve. When the zipper teeth are down, I want the curve on the right side, so that when this zipper closes, it's closing to the right, just like my front zipper panel. And I'm just taking the double-sided tape off, and I'm going to line the zipper teeth up just at that mark. Line up the top raw edge of the bag with the top edge of the zipper tape, and it will end right at the 1 inch mark, or that one mark. So just like that. And then do it for the other side, for the back panel. Take the double-sided tape off. However, on this one, you're going to have the zipper teeth down. The curve is going to be on the left side. Now, if you were going to be having your zipper closing, if this zipper is closing to the right, then this curve would be on this side, and then this curve would be on the right side, just the opposite. So I'm just going to take the curved side, line it up, right teeth down, which is right side together with right side of the back panel, and I'm just going to put the zipper tape down up along the edge, the raw edge of the bag, right to that other mark on the other side. So we have our two together, so that when the bag is sitting right sides out, you have your two curves just like that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch across here at the seam allowance in the pattern. Make sure that you backstitch before and after, and when you get to the end, don't stitch all the way to the end of your material. You're only going to stitch to this mark here only, and backstitch. Oops, make sure I don't miss that mark. All right, so there's the one side. Actually, that's the back panel I did first, and then we'll do the front panel. So actually, so we'll be stitching from mark to mark. All right, and there is our top zippers on either piece. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be putting the right sides together. Make sure that you line up your top corners and clip all the way around. Make sure also when you get to this side that you tuck your zipper tails in and they're not in the way of the stitch line, and line up your top edges as well and clip. And then clip all the way down the sides and the bottom. And we'll be sewing all that up at the seam allowance in the pattern. All right, now we will be sewing all the way down the side, bottom, and back up the other side at the seam allowance in the pattern. Okay, so now we have everything stitched. You can trim off these, trim down your seam allowance in the corners, just in these bottom corners, and that will help boxing the corners easier. They won't be as bulky. Okay, so when we box our corners, we take the bottom seam and the side seam and we line those up inside so that our box corner will be in alignment. Splay your seams open if you can, or nest them on either side. And I just clip just to keep them together. It is bulky with the the back pocket. All right, and then there's a measurement in the pattern to line your point up with on your needle plate on your machine, and then stitch across that. It's better. And repeat for the other side. Line up your, I just stick my finger in the corner and then I can feel where the seams are. Just line them up. And I just clip them farther enough away from the stitch line just to keep them together. Now it's sewing properly. Okay, so there we have our two stitched box corners. Now just trim off these edges right, to maybe just between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. And then turn your bag right side out and your exterior is done. Make sure that you pop those bottom box corners out. I just take my knitting needle, a broken end knitting needle, to pop the corners. Okay. Just roll your side seams, and there's the one box corner. You can see the seams match up, and same with on this side. That looks really nice. I love it with the this beige mora with the coral color zipper. All right, your exterior, what we now have to do is we need to now sew the D-ring connectors on. So get your D-ring connectors. And you have your side seams. When you put your D-ring connectors on, make sure your side seams are splayed open, butterflied open. burn some of these ends off. So the D-ring connectors I have made, they're 3/4 of an inch wide, and we need them to fit in between the zipper, the curved zipper ends, and the tail ends here. So take them. This is the end with the curved zipper. I have my interior seam splayed open. You can take some double-sided tape and just put it across your seam on both sides. It'll help keep it in place. Or you don't have to do that. You can just clip it. I just like to keep it there for security so that when I am stitching across, it has a better chance of not moving. All right, take the backing off the double-sided tape. Splay your interior, the seam open on the inside. Take one of your D-rings, and you're going to put it on the exterior with the D-ring hanging down to the bottom and your raw edge up. And then you're going to place the D-ring connector centered over top of your side seam. And it's going to be, you're going to have, these are extra long, so you're going to have maybe a 1/2 inch to a 3/4 of an inch sticking up from the top edge. And the reason for that is that when this gets flipped up, you're not going to have a lot of it sticking up to look like Shrek ears. And then when it's turned in, you can put a rivet into this one spot at the side so that it's not going to, if you want to do that. So just clip that into place. Make sure it's centered over top of your side seam. And it's going to be centered over the side seam, and then we're just going to base these in place. So damn, everybody's calling me. Okay, and then we just repeat for the other side, and then we're going to measure to make sure that we have the same amount hanging down. So what I do is I just take the side seams and I just line them up right at the top and line up the top edges and then see how everything looks on the other side. And they're even on the outside. I can feel them both on either side. All right, so I'm just going to base that into place. Make sure that when you sew your D-rings on, you hold them in place really good so that they don't get pushed out of whack from your presser foot or your walking foot. And repeat for the other side. Make sure on this side you keep your zipper tails out of your way, your stitch line. I'm just going to stitch it on underneath. Okay, so there we have our D-rings basted on this side and on this side. All right, so now we're going to be working on the lining, and we're going to be working on one side of the lining at a time. So the one side that we're going to be doing is going to be the interior zipper pocket. So you'll need one of your main front and back linings, and then you're going to need the remaining, your interior zipper pocket, 2 linings. They were the exact same measurement as your exterior zipper pocket. And then you're going to need your remaining short zipper and your, sorry, excuse me, your zipper pull. With your lining, with all pieces, mark your centers. Top and bottom. And for your lining pieces as well. Just the tops of your lining pieces. And mark the center of your zipper. No, you don't have to, sorry, you don't need to mark the center of your zipper. All right, now take one of your lining pieces, your interior lining pieces for the zipper pocket, and with the wrong side up, there is a measurement in the pattern to draw a zipper box on here, because one of your zipper pocket linings is going to be used as the zipper box facing. All right, so I'm just going to make the mark. I've already got the center. And there's a certain measurement on the right and the left side as to where to end your zipper box. And draw a line across. There's a measurement from the top down and a measurement from each side. And then we're going to drop it. We've drawn a line, and then there's a measurement to drop your ruler down and draw another line, and then connect those 2 lines with a vertical line, just like that. And then we're going to draw a center line in our box. Just like that. And then I kind of just eyeball where I start one edge, one part of the center line, and I draw a triangle, and then I meet that angled line into the corner of each of the ends, so that you have this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our exterior main lining panel, and it's right side up, and there's going to be a measurement from the center to measure down from the top down to here, and just line your ruler up along the top edge with the measurement. And then we're going to take our wrong side up, so the right side of the lining, the zipper pocket lining with the right side of the main panel lining, so the right sides together, and line them up. And you can pin them into place or use double-sided tape. I'm just going to pin them. making sure you keep that straight and you keep it lined up. It's picking. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to stitch all around this box that we made. Now I lower my stitch length to a small stitch length, and I use a 2 millimeter on my machine, or it's a 2. I'm assuming it's a 2 millimeter. Remove your pins, and there we have it stitched on. So what we're going to do is I just fold it in, I just give it a fold so that these seams, you can feel them here, this side and this side line up, and I just make a little snip along the line just to start a hole. And then I will snip all along the line until we get to this corner, and then I'll snip along this line to the corner and snip into the corner without snipping your stitches, and then finish it for the other side. If you snip the stitches in that corner, it's not life-threatening. You can just go back and re-stitch that corner over top of those cut stitches. If you're using cotton, this part is going to be easy to iron and fold things, but I don't have it, so it'll be easier. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put double-sided tape all the way around the box, far enough away so that it's, when it's turned to the other side, it will catch the underside of the fabric. My double-sided tape sticks. Okay, just like that. And then take your lining panel and shove it through to the other side. Flip it so that your main panel back is wrong side up, and pull this lining through the whole top and bottom and sides, and kind of straighten it out as best as you can. And then what we want to do is we want to take this facing and make sure that the it's folded like this with the seams even. So that's where the double-sided tape comes in. So I'm just going to take the backing off the top part, and then I'm going to use the top part to stick down and hold that folded edge. All along the top. And the beauty of the double-sided tape is that if you have to move it, you can. And then I'm just going to take the backing off the bottom edge and do exactly the same thing with the longer lining. and take the sides off. And what's great about the sides, using the double-sided tape on the sides, is you can pull the corners out so that they're straight and they're not puckered. Everything you can pull and make sure it's nice and straight. So that's what we have now. We have our hole. Just kind of finger press this down. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to take the short zipper and we need to put our zipper pull on. All right, that's better. Take a lighter to the ends, just to prevent fraying. You may wind up having to trim these ends. I always I always cut my zipper tape longer than what I need. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put double-sided tape on the top and the bottom edge. Take the backing off. And decide which way you want your zipper pull to pull, left or right. I'll just have it pulling to the left. All right, lay your zipper onto your workspace and then take your zipper, your back main with that you have your zipper box, and you're going to have it right side up, and you're going to put the lining side of the pocket over top of the zipper tape, centering it. And then what I like to do is I center the zipper teeth in between these two corners on the short edges, and when they're centered the teeth are centered in there on both sides, then your zipper tape usually falls into place. And it will line up top to bottom and be centered. Just like that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to stitch all the way around here at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance to stitch the zipper into place. If you're able to back stitch over top of the zipper teeth, then that's a good thing to do too, to help secure it in. Move your zipper pull out of the way. Make sure your corners are pulled out so that they don't pucker. All right, so there is our zipper sewn in. Now you can take your excess zipper and trim that off and then burn the ends. Make sure that you use utility scissors. So just trim it off to about 1/4 of an inch and then burn the ends. To prevent fraying, and do that on both sides. Okay, just like that. Now, all of this, pull back your lining that you made the facing and pull off all of this double-sided tape now on all 4 sides. You don't need this anymore because it will just now get caught in your stitch line and on your needle plate. Any exposed double-sided tape, I even see some around the zipper, just pull all of that off. It's not needed anymore. It was handy when we needed it. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be taking our other lining piece and we're going to clip it to the top edge. And clip all around. We won't be needing this as a turning hole. We're going to be making the turning hole in the main lining. And then clip all your clip all your side seams together, your side edges and your bottom edge. Just clip them all. Okay, just like that. So fold the side back. Because I've got the corner long, I'm going to come and start up here and stitch down over top, and I can catch the zipper teeth in there, back stitch. And then I'm going to graduate my stitching out to here to about 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch, because you want the wider part of your zipper pocket at the sides and the bottom. You don't need it wider up here, but this is a good way to catch that corner so it doesn't pop anywhere. And then just graduate your seam out so that the seam allowance is shorter. Stitch across the bottom, and then when you come up the side, you'll be doing the same thing. You'll be coming up the side and then graduating in to sew up to the top, and then after that to catch that corner, and then afterwards we'll sew just across the top edge and seal up that zipper pocket. Okay, so there is our one panel done. So I went ahead and stitched across the top. So you can see how I started here at the top edge and then went over top of that corner right there. And then I graduated my stitch line out to here across the bottom and then came up the other side and then started graduating in to catch that other corner, and then I just stitched right across the top. You don't have to worry about trimming anything, any seam allowances off here. It's not going to make any difference. So now we have our zipper, interior zipper pocket panel, and we'll just put that aside for the moment. What we need now are our card slots. Okay, so we need our card slot panel. What you need to do is decide what you're going to use as your top and your bottom. So the top, for me, it doesn't matter which way the fabric goes, but flip it to the wrong side. This is going to be my top, and your top edge, make sure everything's straight. You don't need to mark the centers or anything like that, but make sure your top edge is straight. I'm just going to trim that off. Oh my God. So your side edges should be nice and straight and even, and your top edge should be even because that's where you're going to measure down to make the first line. And then all other lines will be from from each line you'll measure down, because you want to make sure that this top edge is straight so that your lines, when you measure your lines, they're going to be straight. Okay, wrong side up. I'm going to go bigger ruler. And I'll use my pencil. So this is the top edge, and it's on your left side. And there are measurements in the pattern for where each line is to be drawn. So follow that. Okay, I have to do it. That's in my way, so it's going to be hard to see, but I need to make sure I can line up my ruler to my side. I'm going to follow the edge that's on the bottom to make sure that everything's lined up, and the top. And then draw a line. And then from this line, you draw the next line that's marked in the pattern. Actually, I need to make that darker so I can see it. There, I can see it now. All right, so from this first line, then you're going to measure the next measurement. Okay, so you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines from the top edge. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start folding them to create our card slots. So flip it to right side up. Then we're going to first fold on that very first line. So you're going to have this portion of the top edge wrong side up, and the two right sides will be together, and clip them just to hold them. If you can iron them, that's great. I can't iron this because it's waterproof nylon, so it'll just melt. But I can finger press. And I'll finger press right on that line, making sure that I've lined it up the right way. And clip. And then we're going to fold wrong sides together from this next line. And you're going to be forming your card slots, and they're all going to be about a ½ an inch apart from each other. Just make sure I got it folded on that line. Yep, yay. Finger press. This is not the great, this is difficult to work with. Even I can just see that that's still not even straight. It's folded on the line. But this is after you get it all folded, you can adjust. And then we're going to fold right sides together on the next line. The trick is to make sure you keep your edges lined up. And then wrong sides together. This is the tedious part. just clip these guys here in place so I don't lose them. All right, so we have them all folded. Hopefully they're even. And this is where we want to kind of finesse it. What we're going to do is we're on each of these folds, we're going to top stitch first and foremost. Get them lined up. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to top stitch each of the folds. Okay, so all of our folds are top stitched. Now what we want to do is we want to line all of these up, making sure that they are level. The first fold is level with the top edge and straight. Just want to make sure it's measuring the right way. Perfect. It has to come down a bit. And clip it. And then each one is going to be a 1/2 inch from each fold. So just make sure that they're lined up a 1/2 inch from each fold. Okay, so now they're all clipped and they're all a 1/2 inch apart and they're all level and they're in alignment with the top edge. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw a center seam, or we're going to draw a center seam, but we're also going to stitch that center seam. Just make sure it's even. All right, and we're just going to stitch. I start from the bottom and stitch up that center seam. You can back stitch at each fold for more security. Okay, just like that. And I have back stitched over top of each fold. And then we're going to make sure that this measures a certain amount, a certain size. So the top edge, there's a measurement in the pattern that it needs to measure at to make sure that it's straight. And it should be straight, but so from this first fold, card slot, to the top edge, it should measure a certain amount. And then each corner or each edge should measure a certain amount. So from the center mark to the right edge and from the center mark to the left edge, there's a certain measurement that it should be. So from the center mark, measure, line up your ruler with the center line. You can see it. I'll probably have to do it on this side so I can see what I'm doing. All right. Line up that measure. Oh, turn it this way so I can get it. And then trim off that edge. And then measure on the other side, the same measurement from the center line. And then from the top to the bottom, there's a certain measurement. Making sure that you line up your top edge and your bottom seam, and then you trim that off. And then make sure that this card slot panel now measures the measurement in the pattern. Perfect. Okay. Now take your card slot back. And we're going to put the card slot back right sides together and clip. Lining up your top and side corners, your top edges. And we're going to be creating a turning hole in the bottom of the card slot panel. Okay, so we have right sides together. Make sure you have the top part clipped, and then this is going to be the bottom and this is going to be our opening. So I'm going to start stitching somewhere around here, across, there's a seam allowance in the pattern, up the side, across the top, down here, and then finish back here. And you leave that opening to create the turning hole. Okay, so there we have our front and the back card slot and our card slot stitched together. Trim off those corners and trim into that seam allowance just around the corners, just to help with the turning. Just trim the corners. Don't trim this edge off of your bottom part where the turning hole is going to be. Okay. Now we turn this right side out. Use your turning tool to poke out your corners. Don't poke too hard or you'll go right through your fabric, and I have done that. Okay. Clip across the top edge, the top sewn edge, and we're going to top stitch that. Okay, so we just trimmed across the top edge and, or sorry, clipped, and we're just going to top stitch. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and the end. Burn off the thread ends. Okay. Okay, with the turn hole on one edge, put some double-sided tape, just 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape on the inside of that line of fabric, and that'll help stick it together. Take the backing off the double-sided tape if it'll stick. I just pop my fingers into the corners where the stitching ends, and I just kind of fold the inseam or the seam allowance inside. And then that double-sided tape will catch it. And then just make sure that when you squish all the air out and you fold these edges in, that they're all lined up and even. Just like that. And if you want to check your card slots, you can. There's lots of room. There'll probably be room to put two cards in each slot. Keeping in mind you're going to have some seam allowance here as well. All right, take your remaining exterior lining, mark the center at the top. Okay, so with your center mark on your last remaining lining, just put your ruler across the top and center it. And there's a measurement in the pattern of where to measure down from. Make sure you've got your center lined up. You can use pins or painter's tape. I find it easier for painter's tape to hold the card slots in place at the top and the bottom. You're going to have to move the painter's tape because you're going to need to sew it. But line up your ruler with the top edge, and then put the card, so the right side is up of your lining and the right side of the card slot backing is together with the lining, and take your center line and mark it and line it up with your ruler edge. And then I use the painter's tape along the top edge of where we top stitch, because we aren't going to need to stitch that. And then with a scant 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, somewhere between a 1/16 of an inch and an 1/8 of an inch, I'm going to sew all the way down the one side, across the bottom, which will seal up our turning hole, and back up the top edge. Back stitching well. Okay, so we have stitched this on with a very scant 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, just catching the edges basically of the side seam. Take your painter's tape off, save it for another time. Just take a lighter to these threads. On both sides. Okay, and now we have 8 card slots. Just like that. It's not great to have red. And we now have a slip pocket for cash or a checkbook or whatever. Now we're going to finish constructing our lining panels. So we're going to take our zipper lining panel and our card slot lining panel, and we're going to clip them, the sides and the bottom, together, but on the bottom we're going to be leaving a turning hole. So line up your top corners. It's important that your top edges are lined up, and clip them. Do that for both sides first. You want your top edges all lined up. And then clip all the way down the raw edges. And then we're going to create a turning hole here. Okay, just like that. And now what we're going to do is, at the seam allowance in the pattern, we're going to start stitching on the top edge, and then we're going to graduate in about 1/4 of an inch in from the top edge, sew across the bottom to this point, start again here at this point at the larger seam allowance, sew up this side, and then graduate to the seam allowance in the pattern at the top corner, at this corner. And that will create a smaller pocket line, interior lining, so that it won't be as baggy in the bag, inside the bag. All right, so I'm coming to the top corner and I'm going to start graduating out towards to the edge of the fabric, and it'll be stitched at the seam allowance in the pattern. Okay, just like that. And we're not boxing the corners, because these corners will fit into the exterior part of the bag, and they'll fit into the box corners. Trim off your corners just like that. So now what we are going to do is we are going to put the bag together. So on your lining, you need to decide if you want the card slots, so that when you look into your bag, do you want the card slots at the front or at the back? I like the card slots right at the front, so that when I open the bag, the card slots are there. I can stick my hand in, grab the card slot. So that's going to be on the top, and I want that. So the card slots are here on the top side, and the front zipper pocket on the exterior is on the top side. Stick your exterior into your lining. Don't get caught on that slip pocket. So stick it all in, and then what we're going to do is line up our side seams together. And when we line up the side seams, make sure that you butterfly or splay open your seam allowances. So we'll do the side seams first, so that everything lines up, and make sure that it's in line with your top edge. And do it for the other side as well. So your D-rings are going to be down inside between the lining and that. Keep your zipper tails out of the way. You're going to have to stuff them down inside between the lining and the bag. But make sure that they don't get caught in the stitching. And line up this side seam. And the top edge, and clip. Okay, then just take your top edge of the zipper and top edge of your lining and clip it all together. You may need a lot of clips, depending on how heavy your fabric is. Everything should line up, everything should fit. Zipper's getting in the way. Okay, so the top edge is all clipped together. Now we're going to sew it. Make sure that it's all, there's no bunches that will be in the way of your seam allowance. And then stitch all the way around the top edge at the seam allowance in the pattern. When you're moving your fabric around and adjusting your bag so that you can get it around, make sure your needle is down, or else when you pull, you're going to pull it right out from underneath your presser foot. Okay. All right, it has now been all stitched around the top. Now we go through the turn hole and we turn the bag right side out. Okay, and what we need to do first is stuff the lining back inside the bag. First of all, put your hand through the turning hole. Make sure that your corners on your exterior are still all poked out. Then push the lining all the way into the bag. I'm gonna move this now, it's sliding. Make sure your slip pocket lining is all in there straight. Oops, that's not worked out. It's banging around. And that your zipper pocket on the front, everything's straight and flat. Your zipper pocket on the inside is all straight. I forgot to put my bag tag on. Oh well. I knew I was forgetting something. Oh, geez, I just saw that. Just realized it. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we're just going to pull. So now I'm just going to sew on the outside edge and work my way around. Keeping that the zipper tails out of your stitch line. And I'm going to increase my top stitch length to a 4. Construction length was always at a 2. Okay. And I'll back stitch over top of this area, this folded area. Okay, beautiful. So there is the top stitched exterior. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull the lining back out and clip it, clip the turning hole, and then sew it closed. Hook the corners out now. Okay, and I just grab it where the seams end, the stitching end, and pull it, and that naturally folds the fabric. Okay, and then I'm just going to poke that corner out so it doesn't get stitched, and I'm just going to stitch across this to close the turning hole. Okay, and we push the lining back in. Lots of air in there. But push the lining in, make sure you tuck those corners, pull up the lining a little bit to get your finger into those corners and shove them into the box corners. We could have boxed the corners of the lining, but push it all down. Make sure that your zipper pocket on the inside is pushed down. Everything is great. That looks great. I like that. Okay, and there our D-ring connectors are up. And now we have to attach the zipper. So get your last zipper pull. What I like to do to make sure that the zipper, that these curved edges are lined up properly, is I take them and put them together and then clip them. And I clip the zipper all the way down just to keep it in line with the, with each other. Right to the end. And then I make sure that the zipper tapes, the zipper ends match, which they should because they were cut together. I'm just going to trim off the frayed ends. Trim off one tooth each. And they should match. All right, now I'm just going to take the zipper pull and feed it on. And everything should match and line up. Make sure that your ends, when you put the zipper tape on, that both cut ends are in line with each other. Push your zipper pull on. Yikes, I don't want it to fall off. There we go. Okay, pull it a bit, take the clips off. And there it is. Your zipper is on, and now you have one zipper end left. Okay, we do need a zipper end. Okay, so the zipper end that I'm using, I don't have a gold zipper end, but I do have an antique gold. So I am going to, what I like to do is there's not enough room to stuff the extra zipper down here, zipper tape. So I kind of feed it through the D-ring connector so that it'll be caught here and you still have something to grab onto when you undo your zipper and do it up. So I'm just going to trim about 1 inch of that off. Boy, this zipper is not the easiest to work with. I'm going to melt the end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the end into the center and then fold this side over and into the center to make it as narrow as possible. Just like that, and on this side. And I'm going to melt it. And just clip it to keep it into place. Okay, so now with my, I'm going to use Fabri-Tac glue, and I'm going to put a couple of drops into the end of the zipper end. And the glue will help to seal the zipper in there. And I kind of just tap it down. Don't put a super huge amount in there because it'll all ooze out. And then I just take a very, very thin amount of the Fabri-Tac glue on the end of the zipper and just about 1/8 of an inch down each edge. And I slide the zipper end, onto the zipper tape, push it all the way down. It does go quite a ways. And then I take my little rechargeable electric screwdriver. And these zipper ends do come with the little screws. Don't lose them. And then I screw that into the hole on the back of the zipper end. You can put a dab of glue there too if you want, but there's enough glue on this that it should be okay. Okay, make sure your screw is straight and screw it on. Now this doesn't go in all the way and I have to manually twist it on. There we go. Okay, so now we have our zipper end, and I just feed it through the top of the D-ring connector, and then the strap is going to be attached up here, and that'll help hold it, and use it as a little pull so that when you're opening, when you're opening and closing your zipper, you can easily grab it and close it. So there, our exterior of our bag, of the CherAnn Bestie bag, is complete. And now we have our strap to make. Okay, so we're now going to be working on our strap, and I'm making a 3/4 of an inch strap. So I have cut the width of my fabric 1.5 inches wide. Yeah, 1.5 inches wide. Now I didn't have the full length of about 55 to 57 inches. So I've cut 2 pieces and I'm going to join them. So what I do is at right angles, I put the right sides together so that when they're sewn, do I put the right sides together? Yeah. I put the right sides together, clip, and then I mark this bottom edge corner right here. It's hard to see on my desk, but the underside, it's there and I can feel it. So I'm going to mark there. And the reason why I do that is because I'm going to be stitching from this corner on a diagonal to that corner. And I'm going to be joining the fabric together to make a longer strap. Sew and backstitch well at the beginning and the end, and then just sew to that line. You can draw a diagonal line if you want. I can pretty well gauge it so I can see it. There, we've sewn it, and so that when it opens up, it's like that, and then it's not as bulky with a diagonal seam. And then trim that off, trim this corner off about to 1/4 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch. And then we're going to open up those seams. And I'm going to top stitch on either side of this sewn join. And that'll just help keep those seams open, the seam allowance open. Don't have to back stitch, but I did. And then sew up the other side. And that just gives a finished look to that, that join. All right, so there it is. Not perfect, but it's going to be all folded in. All right, now take this and draw a center line down, draw a center line down the middle of your fabric. If you're going to be making a 1-inch strap, then I forgot to mention this. So I'm making a 3/4 inch strap for this particular bag. So my fabric width is 1.5 inches. And then when it gets folded in, I'm only doing one fold into the center because this tri-glide won't be able to accommodate if I was to make a full adjustable strap with faux leather at 3/4 of an inch finished. I would have had my width at 3 inches, then it would have been folded into the center and then folded in half, and that would have been bulky, and this type of a tri-glide will not accommodate that bulk. You won't be able to move it. So all I did was cut this 1.5 inches, and we're only going to do one fold into the center for this one. If you're making a full 1-inch finished adjustable strap, then you're going to cut your fabric width at 4 inches. If you're doing a 1.5 inch finished strap with faux leather, you're going to cut 6-inch width. If you're doing a 1/2 inch finished width, then you're going to cut a 2-inch wide. So we're just going to make mark the center line all the way down. Usually I would have this done in advance, but because we had to join the fabric, it's not. And the join isn't perfect, but okay. Now we put double-sided tape on either side. If you have a really good 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to try that. I'm going to put the 1/4 of an inch Way-Wax tape. It's hyper stick all the way down the center line. It's wide enough, and see if that works. Usually I put 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape down each raw edge and fold in. but can always be different. All right, so we'll just put it right down the center. All right, peel the backing off. And fold each raw edge into the center line. All right, and then down the other side. I hope this sticks. Make sure your raw edges meet together in the center. You don't leave a gap with this one, since I'm only doing one fold. This more, does fray. Okay, so we have it folded into the center, and I'm going to top stitch down each folded edge, and then I'm going to do two more lines in order to catch these folded edges underneath so they are stitched down as well. And I'm changing my stitch length to a 4 to top stitch this strap. Now when I also sew down this, I will start on the one edge, sew all the way down, back stitching at the beginning and the end, and then I'll come back to the top and start down here. And what that does is when you sew down the one side and then start back at the top, at the very top, and sew down the other side, it prevents your strap from twisting. What I like to do is on the right side, I like to make a mark so that I know what my right side is of the strap, because typically my stitching is nicer on the right side. All right, so I'm going to go all the way back to the top, and then I'm going to stitch down this side at 1/8 of an inch. Forgot to mark my right side on the top edge here. Okay. And then I'll go down each side so I can catch that underneath. And I'll go 1/8 of an inch from my original, from the first stitch line, because this is such a narrower strap. And down the other side. Okay, trim your ends so that they're straight. And take a lighter to the thread ends that you've just probably cut, like mine. And then I melt the end of the, this is going to be a very simple strap. It's not going to have any strap ends on it or anything like that. It's just going to be very simple. So I melt the ends, and we have our double stitching. And do the same for the other end. Because I'm just going to fold these ends under and rivet them. Okay. And I'm going to use, I use my Japanese hole punch. Find my stylus. There it is. And just poke out all that fabric that's in there. Okay. And my little tiny craft mat. So I'm going to, how we do the strap is, so the right side up, and I made my mark. You start with your tri-glide. This is a little big. Well, this is going to be bigger than a 3/4 inch because I didn't have a 3/4 inch tri-glide. So it's going to go from underneath. This is the right side of the tri-glide where the bar has a curve to it, and the wrong side, of course, is where you can see them folded over and the flat edge. So go up from underneath, over top of the bar, just like that. And then I'm going to fold this edge over about 1/2 inch. Make sure that your edges are all lined up, are all even. And I can pretty much judge where I want to put my hole. Where did I put my punch? There it is. Making sure that I catch that folded edge. And then I'm not punching anywhere where there's stitching. Okay, so the hole has been made front and back. Stick your post through one end and out the other, and then put the cap on. So we're going to take the rivet press and we're going to press that rivet into place. Making sure that it's straight and it's seated in there. That felt good. Okay, so there we have our Tri-Glide on, and yeah, it is a little wider. I just didn't have a small enough one. Okay, so now I hold the Tri-Glide with my right hand while I pull the strap to the other end. Take one of your swivel clasps. Your right side is up on this end. Make sure the lobster part of the swivel clasp is up. Feed it through the hole and then pull it all the way down to where the Tri-Glide is. And at this point, wrong edges are together of your strap. And then you're going to go up this side from the bottom. So go under from the bottom and up over your bar like that. And your swivel clasp is on here. And with this raw edge now, you're going to take your other swivel clasp right side up on this side and your lobster clasp facing up. Feed that in, and then you're going to create another fold just like we did on the other side. So fold it in under about 1/2 inch. And then over, you don't want to have this loosey-goosey or anything like that, but you need to be able to make sure you can get in with the rivet press. And this is right side up. And I'm going to punch a hole, making sure I catch everything underneath and that my sides are lined up. And I have it centered between the two inner stitch lines. Okay, the hole went through, and then I'll put the post through and put the cap on, and then I'll press it. And our strap is done. There we go. Oops. Not sure how I wound up with these gold. I don't order gold ever. All right, so now our strap is done. And it moves quite freely, so we're just going to put that on the bag. And our bag is done. Our CherAnn Bestie Crossbody Bag is now finished. Just turn this way. All right. Okay, guys, here it is. Our CherAnn Bestie Crossbody Bag is all done, the front and the back. So we have this nice, generous slip pocket or zipper pocket in the front. Lots of room for your phone. I can find my phone. And lots of room for the phone to do up, or the zipper to do up with the phone inside. And then we have a slip pocket on the back, lots of room. There'll be lots of room for a Kindle or anything like that in the back pocket. And our zipper closure on the top, and the zipper end I have feeding through the D-ring connector so that you have something to grab onto when you want to open and close the bag. And open it up, and on the back wall, I have a large zipper pocket, really big inside. It'll be the same size as this zipper pocket on the front because the linings are both the same size. And then on the other side, we have 8 card slots. There's lots of room. They go in horizontal, but there's lots of room. You could probably fit 2 card slots in each pocket. And then we have behind that, we have a slip pocket to put cash or anything else that you might want. Now, if you don't want to use this for cash or a checkbook, you could put a cam snap here to snap it closed to hold anything in there or whatever. You know, that's up to you. And this is the CherAnn Bestie Crossbody Bag, named in honor of my friend Cheryl from high school, my best friend. And I hope you enjoy making this pattern as much as I have enjoyed designing it for her with all of the things that she wanted in a bag and whatever. So enjoy, and we will see you at the next tutorial.